In courtrooms across the country, parents have confronted the killers of their innocent children in a display of raw emotion. These heart-wrenching moments reveal the depths of grief and anger as families seek justice for the inconceivable loss of their beloved babies.
A courtroom brawl breaks out after the mother of a murder victim confronts her daughter's killer. The showdown happened on October 17th in Houston, Texas, during what was supposed to be a sentencing hearing for 19-year-old Frank DeLeon Jr.
Frank DeLeon Jr., 17, gained renown for his involvement in the murder of 15-year-old Diamond Alvarez in Houston, Texas. It happened on January 11, 2022, in a southwest Houston neighborhood. Alvarez, 16, was walking her family's dog, Peanut, when she was killed. DeLeon, her boyfriend at the time, was the main suspect. The motive seemed to be a love triangle. Alvarez had found out DeLeon was seeing someone else and wanted to confront him.
Diamond Alvarez leaving court after a bond hearing today. The DA's office says the victim's brother tried to go after the suspect, Frank DeLeon, in the courtroom. The judge had to hit the panic button to get deputies in to remove Alvarez's brother.
That evening, DeLeon texted Alvarez, asking her to meet at a park on Park Manor. Not knowing his plans, she went to meet him with Peanut. During this meeting, Alvarez's family heard gunshots. They later found her body in a nearby field.
He's charged with murder, accused of shooting Alvarez 22 times.
Police arrested DeLeon 6 days later, charging him with murder. He posted a $250,000 bond and was put under house arrest.
This case is a good example of the way things should work. It was resolved in under 2 years. That's almost a record here in Harris County in homicide cases.
Diamond's family says they want to move forward.
What I'm going through is not a life that I have to watch my back, that I can't go nowhere.
In March, DeLeon broke his bond rules. His lawyers said he left home to go to church, but Alvarez's family didn't believe this, pointing out it was a Monday when churches are usually closed. They wanted proof.
That ankle monitor does not provide any safety for us. This is injustice. This is injustice all the way around.
When DeLeon was arrested again for breaking the bond, Alvarez's family felt relieved. They told the media they felt safer with him in custody. The family also mentioned that DeLeon lived just 2 minutes away. At a press conference, a family member named Machado said, "It was a relief. I cried. I screamed."
Investigators say Alvarez had agreed to meet DeLeon in her neighborhood park that night after she found out he was in another relationship. They say she was walking her dog when DeLeon allegedly shot her 22 times. He was arrested days later and posted a $250,000 bond. Since then, Alvarez's family has been fighting for justice and waiting for closure. As you might imagine, they were beyond upset after getting this morning's update.
DeLeon's lawyer said his client had a car accident on his way to court on Monday. He got a severe head injury and needed medical care. The district attorney's office confirmed DeLeon was in a hospital under guard.
But we begin here at home with breaking news this afternoon. The man accused of shooting and killing 16-year-old Diamond Alvarez has pled guilty to her murder.
The start of jury selection, set for Monday, was delayed because DeLeon didn't attend. Steve Walsh from the Harris County District Attorney's Office said DeLeon needs to see a judge about his bond before the trial can start. The police found strong evidence against DeLeon. They had text messages between him and Alvarez that showed when things happened and why. DeLeon also admitted he used to have a 9mm gun, but said he got rid of it.
DeLeon will have to serve at least half of his sentence before he's eligible for parole.
DeLeon pleaded guilty to murdering Diamond Alvarez. The court sentenced him to 45 years in prison. On an uneasy day in court, Antonio Hughes, the father of 3-year-old Nilo Lattimore, confronted the man accused of killing his son, Deseen Brown. Hughes struggled to contain his anger, and with a sudden outburst, he pounced at Brown, fists flying as he punched him repeatedly. Officers quickly intervened, stopping Hughes and pulling him away from Brown.
We'll take a look at this video here as a court hearing turns violent today. The man accused of stabbing a mother to death and throwing her toddler in the Ohio River was attacked by that toddler's father. Deshaun Brown was in court for a motions hearing today. A judge allowed the use of Brown's taped confessions to the killings of Nylo and Nytisha Lattimore as evidence. But as those proceedings were wrapping up, Nylo's father, Antonio Hughes, came up behind the defendant and then punched him repeatedly. That's what you're looking at right there. Two deputies wrestled Hughes to the ground. He was still struggling as backup arrived to take him out of the courtroom.
But even after being restrained, Hughes was not done. Once he was back on his feet, he attempted to attack Brown again, his grief and rage boiling over in a way that left everyone stunned.
It's been nearly 3 months since Roderick Lattimore saw his daughter, Nytisha Lattimore, and her 3-year-old son, Nylo, alive.
After the incident, Hughes was charged with contempt of court for his violent outburst. The judge charged Hughes to serve 7 days in jail.
Deshaun Brown has been indicted for both their murders in December. Dieter shared details of a body bag he says Brown bought on eBay for Nytisha and little Nylo thrown into the river while still alive.
Nylo Lattimore had been reported missing earlier, and his body was later discovered, leading to Brown's arrest. The pain of losing a child is unimaginable, and Hughes's reaction was a heartbreaking testament to the grief that can crush a parent.
Now, according to police, Bruck then waited a half hour before he called police. Now, family of the boy's mother obviously very furious about what happened. They're very saddened about what happened yesterday with the little boy passing away. They initially set up a GoFundMe page.
The case was heard in the Marion County Superior Court, where a southern Indiana man, Antonio Hughes, faces serious charges after the tragic death of his son, 4-year-old Nylo Lattimore. Hughes is accused of beating Nylo, leading to the boy's death in March 2022. The case was all about child abuse.
Doctors first saw Hayden. They initially suspected that he had been a victim of abuse.
On the day of the incident, police were called to the family's home after reports of a distressed child. When officers arrived, they found Nylo unresponsive. Despite their efforts to wake him, he was pronounced dead at the hospital. An autopsy revealed that the young boy had suffered severe injuries, consistent with abuse, just because of Hughes's actions.
He hit him so hard that the boy fell backwards and onto some concrete floor.
As the case proceeded, it became clear that Hughes had a history of violence and troubling behavior. Witnesses reported that he often displayed aggressive tendencies, raising concerns about Nylo's safety. The evidence leads to his arrest shortly after Nylo's death. In court, Hughes's behavior shocked many. He showed little emotion as the details of his son's suffering were presented.
During the sentencing for a 3-year-old girl's death, a brawl broke out in a Detroit courtroom when the girl's father attacked Clifford Thomas, the man responsible for killing his daughter, Jamila.
In the Wayne County Circuit Court in Detroit, a shocking scene happened during the sentencing of Clifford Thomas, the man responsible for the tragic death of 3-year-old Jamila Smith. Dwayne Smith, Jamila's father, was there to deliver a victim impact statement, but his grief and anger raged over. Instead of speaking, he yelled out and swung at Thomas, landing a punch right on his head. The courtroom flashed as court security rushed in to separate the two men.
The girl's father attacked Clifford Thomas, the man responsible for killing his daughter, Jamila. Jamila died in September 2014 after her mother, Jasmine Gordon, and her boyfriend, Clifford Thomas, rushed Jamila to the hospital. Authorities say the girl had bruises on her head and chest consistent with abuse.
Back in September 2014, Jamila was taken to the hospital by her mother, Jasmine Gordon, and Thomas when she stopped breathing. They claimed she had fallen and hit her head, but medical experts discovered bruises on her body that indicated abuse.
We're inside the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice in Detroit, Michigan. 25-year-old Jasmine Gordon and her 34-year-old boyfriend, Clifford Thomas, are being sentenced today for the death of Gordon's 3-year-old daughter, Jamila Smith.
It led to a deeper investigation, revealing the scary truth behind her death. Both Thomas and Gordon were ultimately found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. In court, Gordon received a sentence of 14 to 25 years for child abuse and 7 to 15 years for manslaughter. Thomas was sentenced to a minimum of 4.5 years for manslaughter. and additional time for resisting police.
When he's asked to deliver an impact statement, he delivers.
After the fight, Dwayne Smith was escorted out of the courtroom, but faced no charges for his actions. The judge chose not to hold him in contempt, understanding the immense pain he was experiencing. In the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court, Van Terry confronted Michael Madison, the man who murdered his daughter, Sherelda. Madison was accused of killing 3 women in East Cleveland and disposing of their bodies in garbage bags. The courtroom was tense as Terry prepared to speak about the pain of losing his 18-year-old daughter, who disappeared in 2013. Sherelda was last seen returning home from work, and her family, desperate for answers, put up missing posters everywhere. Tragically, their worst fears were confirmed when police discovered her body, along with those of 2 other victims, wrapped in garbage bags.
Other new information to share with you tonight. The Ohio Supreme Court is delaying the death penalty for an East Cleveland serial killer. Michael Madison was arrested for murdering 3 women in 2013. Their bodies were found in July of that same year near an East Cleveland apartment where Madison lived. He's been on death row since 2016.
Madison, a registered sex offender, was arrested and confessed to the killings, though he claimed he couldn't remember the details of Sherelda's murder.
The judge agreed with the jury's recommendation and imposed the death penalty. The convicted murderer was found guilty of killing 3 women.
Terry stood before the judge. He expressed his sorrow, saying, "Right now, I guess we're supposed to, in our hearts, forgive this clown who has touched our families, taken my child."
By the sheer inhumanity of what one human being can do to not 1, but 3 human beings.
Michael Madsen is a convicted serial killer responsible for 3 women's deaths in East Cleveland, Ohio. He was arrested in July 2013 after the bodies of 3 women were found in garbage bags near his apartment. Born in 1977 in Cleveland, Madsen grew up in a troubled household.
Just then, Madison smiled, which was Terry's breaking point. Overcome with grief and anger, he pounced across the courtroom, aiming to reach Madison. Chaos erupted as court officers quickly interfered to control him. Terry was taken out of the courtroom, but his actions resonated with many who understood the depths of his pain. Meanwhile, the judge sentenced Madison to death.
I'll never get to see her graduate from high school or be married or anything. He took that from us. He took the joy we had with her away. I just hope the system works.
In the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court, Ryan M. Burge faced the consequences of his actions. He was accused of murdering 5-year-old Hartley Anderson while babysitting her in November 2018.
5-year-old Hartley Anderson so badly it killed her. And now they say the attack was premeditated. The little girl was unresponsive when paramedics got to her Friday afternoon. She died after being life-flighted to Randall Children's Hospital. Probable cause paperwork includes a neurosurgeon assessment that the girl suffered a stroke and massive brain swell.
Hartley was a vibrant little girl, full of life and love, but her life was tragically cut short under Burge's care. When first responders arrived at the Madison Park apartments, they found Hartley unconscious, suffering from severe head trauma. Despite their efforts, she was pronounced dead at the hospital.
Being alone and life-flighted without any family,
Nobody was allowed to see her.
I'm just probably so scared.
Burge initially claimed that Hartley had hurt herself during a tantrum, but the evidence told a different story. The investigation revealed that he had brutally beaten her, betraying the trust placed in him as her babysitter. The court proceedings were filled with tension as family members of Hartley listened to the details of her tragic death.
A family is grieving tonight after a 5-year-old girl died in Vancouver and her mother's boyfriend is accused of her murder.
Hartley was a vivacious and loving little girl with an infectious personality. Her Aunt Whitney and Uncle TJ say one of her favorite things to do was to lavish the dogs with love.
In February, a jury convicted Burge of second-degree murder and first-degree manslaughter, but could not agree on a first-degree murder charge. During the sentencing, Hartley's mother, Natasha Tafoya, spoke tearfully about the milestones Hartley would never reach, including her first day of kindergarten. When the judge sentenced Burge to 40 years in prison, the courtroom felt the weight of grief and anger. Hartley's father was visibly upset, struggling to contain his emotions as he faced the man who had taken his daughter's life.
On November 9th, the car driven by Tidmore struck the 9-year-old on Babbitt Road in Euclid, but didn't stop.
In the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court, LaCynthia Tidmore faced the consequences of her actions. On November 7th, 2022, she struck 9-year-old Desire Mays with her car while driving on Babbitt Road in Euclid, and then fled the scene without stopping. Desire was a bright young girl, full of life and dreams, but her life was cut short.
Desire Lemire Mays was a wonderful little girl. She affected a lot of people's lives. She was a straight A student. She loved school. She loved to dance. She loved to sing. At the age of 9, she knew how to cook. She could clean. She could wash dishes. She was so excited to turn 10 because we had this big party planned for her. She was not playing in the street. She was crossing the street to go to her bus stop. We live on Babbitt. I don't understand what I am going through. I am seeing a psychiatrist. I am on 3 different medications. I have tried to kill myself.
Or turning yourself in. The only reason why you turned yourself in is because the lady that was at the scene followed you to the gas station and called Euclid police. That's why. I don't owe you anything. I don't want no apology because you should have apologized at the scene and I would have been way more lenient. She needs to get the max that she can get consecutively. Wherever that is, 1 to 3, 1 to 5, that's 8 years. You really need to get more than that. Because when you see me in the grocery store, how are you sorry? How can you change the hands of times when you initiated a fight? How is that sorry? That's not sorry. When you seen me, I didn't see you. So when you seen me, you should have walked away. You shouldn't have been coming talking about some I don't want no wreck. You got the wrong one. Because I could have retaliated. I didn't. I could have went to your mama house. I could have went to your sister's house. I didn't do none of that. I let the law handle it.
After the accident, Tidmore went to a gas station where she was spotted, eventually leading her to turn herself in. Desire suffered severe injuries and, despite efforts to save her, died weeks later in the hospital. Tidmore was charged with worsened vehicular killing and failure to stop after an accident.
In count 1, aggravated vehicular homicide, a felony of the 3rd degree. In count 2, failure to stop after an accident, felony of the 3rd degree. The court has ordered a pre-sentence investigative report. I've also ordered and received a mitigation penalty report. Well, there's been a mental health eligibility report which dealt with defendant's mental health. I've reviewed those reports. Mr. Shaughnessy, did a chance to look at those as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there any additions or deletions information there?
No, Your Honor.
I've also received status updates with respect to pretrial supervision of this defendant, and I've reviewed those. Have you reviewed those as well, Mr. Shaughnessy?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Feralia, have you seen these as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
During the trial, Tidmore expressed guilt, saying, "I wish I could go back and redo it." But Desire's family questioned her sincerity. They felt she showed little concern immediately after the accident. One of the most emotional moments came when Desire's mother, Twyla Austin Williamson, tearfully pleaded for the maximum sentence, expressing her pain and anger towards Tidmore.
In count one, the aggravated vehicular homicide, it's a felony of the third degree, 5 years at the higher reformatory for women. In count two, failing to stop after an accident, 36 months in the higher reformatory for women. Those will run consecutive to each other. Your driver's license is suspended for life. You're also assessed 6 points on your driver's license. I have considered everything in this matter. Your jail time credit will be applied to your sentence. Document indicates 3 days jail time credit. You're responsible for your costs before you may be required to do community work service. You do have a right to appeal your sentence, this sentence, and your convictions. If you are indigent, let the court know within 30 days, I'll provide a transcript and an attorney at state's expense. Post-release control is mandatory part of the sentence for this felony of the third degree. It's 3 years mandatory post-release control. Upon your release, you will be supervised by the Ohio Adult Parole Authority for 3 years. You must follow the rules of the Parole Authority. If you fail to follow their rules, they have the power to send you back to prison for a total of up to 50% of this 8-year sentence. Any violation of the Parole Authority's rules could result in a residential sanction, which could include an imprisonment term up to 9 months. The rules on post-release control will require you to report to a parole officer. If you fail to report, the Parole Authority can punish you by sending you back to prison. You're also subject to being indicted on a separate felony called escape. That means the judge assigned to the new indictment could also punish you with time in prison, even if the Parole Authority.
Ultimately, Tidmore received the maximum sentence of 8 years in prison, a lifetime suspension of her driver's license, and 3 years of probation upon release. Thanks for watching. Seeing the raw emotions expressed in these courtroom moments makes us sad. If you found this video impactful, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.